What's up, everybody? It's me, True Star Screamer, and we're here looking at something a little off the beaten path. This actually has been out for a little bit, but it is something, I don't think it's a very common figure. This is actually made by threezero. This is from their threezero S series figure line, and this is their 1/12 series Bloodshot. Now, Bloodshot is a Valiant comic book character, Valiant being the imprint. Came out in the mid-90s, and I was kind of a fan of him. I actually liked his second run in the Acclaim series a little better. But he's a pretty neat character. He actually has kind of like two different abilities in a way, but they work in conjunction really well. One, his whole body is filled with nanites. They injected him right into his chest, basically switched his blood out, and kind of made him as you see it. But he apparently also had an innate Harbinger ability, or that's what Valiant called their mutants basically then, where he could talk to machines. So that way, he could actually talk to the nanites inside of him, and they didn't kill him, which is like kind of like he was the only one who survived the process. It's a convoluted thing, but it works out. Long story short, he's got machines running into him. He heals up really quick for wounds. He's got strength. He can talk to computers. It's pretty neat, and he's a gun toter. Now, when I first saw this figure, I thought it was mildly interesting because, again, I like characters like this. But this guy does have some shortcomings. Came out. He cost about $59, $69, depending where you bought him from. And so I couldn't quite pull the trigger on something I wasn't quite sure on. I was able to get him on eBay for about 40 bucks shipped, so I couldn't say no to that. And so I got him in. Plus, they just released a second version of him now called Bloodshot Unleashed, which will have a lot of the same accessories here, except he, instead of having this shirt that we'll talk about, he has a wired cape, and he's covered in blood. Battle damage, yay. But enough about the intro, let's talk about the figure and these lovely accessories. So just because we're here, we're going to talk about his hands, and he comes default out of the package with the open splayed hand, which I'm going to say it's a big hand. We look at him over here. I don't usually talk about the hands, but I got to talk about it. It is almost comically large. You know, it's like he had his hand here and then he inflated it. It is a severe design issue on this figure, and it makes me wonder about one other aspect which we'll be talking about a little bit. But yeah, this hand is huge. He also has a fist hand. Oh, sorry. This is not the fist. This is actually his holding hand. So he can hold because he can hold a katana. He does also have fists, and of course he has his trigger hand here. So it's a decent array of hands that let him do the main things, which works out for his accessories and all. As you can see, he has a pistol. We'll talk about that a little later, but all the guns are kind of made the same way, of just a cast black plastic, but I do love that they have dry brushing of gunmetal paint on them. This is something I've been begging the Classified series to do, so it looks like they cast the plastic, sprayed some primer on, and then just dry brushed the hell out of them, and I absolutely love it. He's got his automatic rifle, he's got his machine pistol, and he's got the automatic. I kind of wish he had two automatics, because I always like my characters dual wielding. Deadpool's usually come with two automatics, and I think he should have come with that as well, just because, again, it was in the 90s, the whole Hong Kong style thing was going on. Speaking of the Hong Kong style, well, I know this is actually, or Asia at least, he does come with this harness, he also, and the katana. Now, I took the liberty of putting some shock oil on the blade, because when I pulled it out, I could feel the metal scraping on there. And if you do get this figure, I absolutely recommend doing that. Again, the handle's got the dry brushing on the grip, which I do like. Sword scabbard itself, just plain plastic with some gold tips. The blade itself, painted silver. Again, that's why I did the silicone shock oil. There is a distinct way to put the sword into the scabbard. You'll feel it though if you try to put it the wrong way. And then we got the little elastic harness, which it works. My issue with it is it almost feels like the sword's gonna fall through. I think I would have liked a little bit more rim on the scabbard here, just so it feels like it'd have a little better grip going through. But it seems to be okay. It does have a distinct front and back, where you've got the elastic on one side and leather here. Finally, we have the t-shirt, which I've left in the plastic, because I actually kind of think he looks cool bare-chested. Just a little more badass with it, to be honest, because we're showing off the sculpt. But he's got it. And that's his main accessories, and I do actually have a problem with that. I really, really, really feel he should have gotten a holster for this pistol. Because while I've got the harness for the sword, he has no other weapon storage. And I can get away with the fact of him not having storage for an automatic rifle or even the machine pistol. But I think since the actual automatic is supposed to be his, final say side piece after he runs out of ammo for the other stuff, this should have had a holster. Plus that would have taken advantage of the straps here, even just gluing one onto there. So that I think is a little bit of a detriment. But enough about the accessories, now let's talk about the guy. So, talking about Bloodshot as the figure, or in this case threezero as an doing action figures. They're more well known for doing those Transformer figures. I myself have a couple of the MDLX figures. I've got Bumblebee, the Prime, and Megatron. And of those three, I probably like Bumblebee the best, but I'll be honest, find them a little lacking. I'm actually selling off my MDLX figures to give you an idea, and I'm usually a hoarder on these things. But when I heard threezero, usually a high standard for figures. Jordan on our Figure Action podcast loves their non-transforming stuff, which is cool, and that's why I was excited of them doing a 1/12 scale figure. And we got some issues. Let's talk about the most glaring issue of all, and that is honestly his scale. Here is the Daredevil figure I just recently reviewed. Which, hey, check out the review for this Daredevil figure. And Bloodshot's supposed to be 6 foot, like 6'6". Yeah, we got a problem here. He is into his, I guess you could call him true 1/12 scale, but this is a Mezco buck, and this is for a project I'm currently working on. Stay tuned. Hopefully later this summer this project will be finished. But this is a Mezco Netflix Punisher buck. Even then, look where the shoulders are. This is, and that's the whole thing. The Mezco's packaging says, 1/12. This guy is just small. I'm sorry, and I'm a short guy. They make fun of me about that all the time in the Figure Action Podcast chat room. 9:30 Eastern Time. Check it out sometime, guys. It's a fun show. But this, I can't put him with anything, and that drives me nuts. Now, next for my other issues with the figure. It has a lot to do with how these legs and hips are done. I'm not Southern. I'm from Ohio. But you can see inside the leg. You can see the mechanism on here. Depending on the angle that you have. And the thing is, the way these legs are cut, if there was more crotch space here, I got to call it on that one. I removed it in the Daredevil figure. This actually has the opposite problem. He could have used more coverage on there, because it doesn't affect anything. I use the drop down hip on here. Cool, but I'm seeing everything in there. There absolutely should have been more plastic with this altogether. Articulation, it's decent. He's got a very good ab crunch. Bends back really well. The neck's on a double hinge, which is really nice. He does have a okay butterfly. I am not going to be doing any kind of modding on this. I'm sorry, I don't know the figure well enough. Double jointed elbows well enough. Hips are tight, but nothing to be scary about. No thigh swivel. And again, that I find that a crime. Especially when I have these belts on here, they could have easily put a thigh swivel up here. You know, I would have had the belt here, put another belt there, maybe absolutely have those thigh holsters, which would have been really cool, and that would have then masked having a thigh swivel, which would absolutely have helped with the articulation. Double jointed knee is nice. This is actually one of the nicer knees I've seen. I do enjoy this. Nice use of the kneecap and all, which is cool. No boot swivel. Again, this would have been a perfect opportunity to put a boot swivel on the boot. It would not have broken the sculpt and opened up a lot more posing and decent on the ankle. So it's lacking. That's the problem. I am very glad I got this guy in discount. We'll talk more about that with the final thoughts. But look at these hands. Again, I got back to the default hands on there. These look like regular 6-inch figure hands. It's like the hands were made right and everything else was made to the wrong scale. I don't get it. Now, one advantage of having the larger hands is I can actually have him use more 6-inch scale weapons, which definitely is very cool. I didn't really talk about the head sculpt is really nice. And the deco, I mean, just while I've got him out here, the dry brushing and all that the shading on here, that is beautiful. So the paint and the deco is on spot. I guess I got a little lost in the negativity, and I'm sorry about that. But yeah, his deco is gorgeous from front to back. So I don't want to take that away from the figure. And here we have them all geared up, looking all 90s, extreme, edgy, whatever, how you want to put it. And no, dark and edgy, that's more 2000s. So he's all extreme. So, as you can see here, again, I got the harness on here on his back, and it just doesn't look like it lays right anywhere. No matter how I position it on here. Even if I had the t-shirt, maybe, but, like the the other Unleashed version of him doesn't have the shirt, but it still have the harness, so it'll still be looking the same. I want to point out, getting this in here, that was a very tight grip, so I'm kind of glad the way they have it in case he does wear the paint off. I don't have too much of an issue with that. Yeah, but, I mean, he looks overall decent, and he'll photograph decently. I did take a couple pictures before shooting this review. And I was pretty pleased with how they turned out, don't get me wrong. But, here's the big thing. You know, here's our final thoughts. If I had paid full price for this figure, I would be very disappointed. I would be very I don't want to say upset, but I would be irked. I would be very irked. When you hear them usually named threezero, there's usually a very good standard that goes to it. And I feel this figure is not leading up to those standards. From the accessory counts, again, I would have liked the holsters, I would have liked the dual pistols, but you know what, fine, that's an aesthetic choice on there. But the scale issue, I don't know what's going through their head on that one. How this waist was designed, who put that together? There's so many other figures out there to reference, you know, Hasbro, Figuarts, Mafex, whatever. You're trying to put something into that kind of price point. I'm sorry, just because I got them here now. I got Hasbro figures that do these crotch pieces so much better. Again, not knocking Hasbro, but I'm just saying that there's better out there. McFarlane's better. So many other figures are better out there at a lower price point, that this being at the point it's at, I don't settle that. The only thing I got going with the scale is I happen to have this Harley Davidson here that happens to be at a smaller scale, and he looks great with that. Okay, I'll give him that. He looks great with this Harley that I've been waiting for a figure to pose it with, so I got that going for him. But I was seriously considering getting the Unleashed version as well, you know, kind of have them back to back, share the accessories, all that stuff, and no, I have no desire really for that figure. Maybe if someone is giving them away dirt cheap, maybe, but I will say this. There's not many representations of Bloodshot for an action figure. You got the Vin Diesel version from that weird movie that came out years ago from McFarlane and this guy. So if you are a die-hard Bloodshot fan, this is probably your only chance for him. But if you are a casual collector, you have no need for this figure. He isn't going to scale right with anything. I hate to say it, causes more frustration than good. I could, for all I know, I might even be able to make a custom out of this one using Action Force pieces, you know, these days. But that's the thing. There are so many better options out there for a soldier action figure that I cannot really endorse it. I mean, 5.5, 6 out of 10, maybe. You know, D plus C grade figure. And I don't like to be negative. I really don't, especially when I spend my own money on things. But let me know your thoughts down below. That's what the comment section's for. Am I being too harsh on this guy? Should I be being harsher? You know, this figure's been out for about a year now, so I've had time to look at pictures of it. Maybe I hyped him up more in my mind. Who knows? But I think by buying him on closeout, I had the luxury of not saying, well, I spent all this money on him, I gotta like him somehow. And I'm not like that with this guy. And I try to be very honest with you guys about these things. But let me know your thoughts down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you're new here, please hit that sub button. We're trying to get to 500. Give me 500 subs, I'll eat 500 subs. No. Trust me, I'm not going to eat 500 subs. I'm trying to lose weight, people. But always, more importantly, as always, until next time, take care. Peace.